Stop. That was the word that ripped out of me louder than the thunder outside, sharper than the silver tray, shattering on the floor. A pillow dropped, an old man grabbed at air, and in the doorway stood his son, the millionaire who signed my paychecks, staring at me like I was the danger. You ever feel your whole life balance on one breath? And then tip, my name is Clara. And if you've ever been the person people look past, the one who keeps the house running while everyone else plays perfect, then you and I already understand each other. I didn't come from money. I came from Birmingham, from a bus driver dad who used to tell me, Clara, the world may look down on you, but you don't bow your head to it. You stand tall. That's what he said. That's what I tried to do when I took the job at the Peterson estate in Manchester. A place so big, the hallways echo your footsteps back like they're checking your confidence, a library, with windows taller than any house on my street, a dining room that could feed a neighborhood and still have leftovers. Honest work is honest work, and dignity doesn't need a title, you know what I mean. The first person who made that place feel human was Arthur. 78, heart like thin glass hands that shook when he poured tea, but a smile that warmed the room like a heater on a cold morning. He called me Cherry the first week, then laughed when I corrected him, then kept telling me I made the big house feel less empty. I brought him the good biscuits when nobody was looking, straightened his blanket, just so listened to his stories that looped like old records, but somehow never got old, sat with him. When the hymns he hummed ran out of words. He wasn't the boss's father to me. He felt like the last person left in a neighborhood where I used to know all the names. Michael was different. Early 30s, polished shoes, the kind of suit that says, I know where every pound goes and why a real estate mogul people whispered about in two directions. Ruthless, but fair. You hear that a lot about men who build empires. The truth I saw was simpler. He was a son. He checked his father's pills himself, stood in the doorway, to listen for steady breathing, the way kids stand at the edge of a pool to make sure their little brother's head breaks water. Under the hard edges, he cared, and caring is softer than money ever looks on paper. And then there was Isabella. I could end the sentence there, and some of you would already be nodding. Tall blonde diamonds like camera flashes, a London accent that sounded like velvet, even when she said nothing at all. In public, she was a performance, the good kind. Warm, witty, unfazed, the perfect, plus one who says please and thank you to the waiter, and then tips with a story about a charity ball. In private, another woman came into focus. Eyes that rolled when Arthur asked for a blanket, a voice that went sharp the second the door clicked shut, a patience that lasted exactly as long as the spotlight. People say money makes you mean. I don't buy it. Money just gives the meanness a stage and good lighting. The first time I heard the mask crack, it was late. Rain tapping the windows like it wanted inside lights turned low in that rich house way that says everything is curated, even the shadows. I was polishing silver in the kitchen when I heard a voice travel down the hall. Bright, cold, familiar. At first I thought it was the TV. Then I recognized Isabella. Arthur, you're a burden, she said, crisp as a knife. If it weren't for Michael's foolish attachment to you, you'd already be in a cheap nursing home. Do you think I'm going to spend the best years of my life babysitting an old man? I didn't move. My hands shook hard enough that the tray almost slid from my fingers. He coughed and said, You don't mean that. She replied, I mean every word. One way or another, you won't be in my way much longer. Click, click, click went her heels across marble, and all I could hear after that was the panic humming in my own chest. I went to the living room. Arthur sat small on the sofa blanket, slipping eyes watery and far away. I knelt, took his hand, heard my dad again. Stand tall. I told Arthur quietly, I'll protect you, I promise. From that night, I watched her. Not with a scene, not with attitude, just attention. Those little cruelties, they stack if you let them. She knocked Arthur's meds out of his palm. Oops, so clumsy. And left before we found all the pills. She called the staff slow with that smile you're supposed to accept as a joke, made dinner table quips about inheritance like wealth was a game you win by kicking away the elderly. And then one morning there was a note under my door. Typed, no handwriting. Know your place, Maid. Stay quiet or you'll regret it. Pattern interrupt. That line used to scare me. The fear moved in like a draft. But bravery doesn't arrive with a trumpet. It shows up as a decision you have to make again and again. So I paid attention to camera placements, to routines, to who walked where and when. I kept Arthur's door a hair more open than the rest. I told myself, if it comes to it, you use the truth like a light, and you let it blind whoever hates it. Then the storm hit. Real rain, the kind that makes a house groan wind that rattled the windows down those long halls. Staff was thin lights, were dim, the kind of night the rich call atmospheric, and the rest of us call trouble. I made tea for Arthur, cups clinking soft on the tray, humming under my breath, so I didn't hear my own heartbeat. When I reached his door, I heard it, a sound that didn't belong. Not a cough, not the TV. A muffled struggle. I pushed the door just enough to see. Isabella was leaning over him, arms rigid, a pillow pressed hard over Arthur's face. His legs kicked weakly, hands pushing against nothing. The tray fell, porcelain exploded across the floor like ice blooming. "Stop!" I shouted the word tearing out of me, and she spun, eyes lit with a fury she usually kept in storage. "You stupid girl, you don't know what you saw." I pulled the pillow away, pressed my hand to Arthur's chest, counted breaths like prayer beads, heard him gasp. She tried to kill me. That's when Michael appeared in the doorway, a shadow cut out of lightning. "What in God's name is happening?" he said, voice flat like a blade. Isabella flipped the switch in one breath. Tears a tremble, the performance you only learn by practicing in mirrors. "Michael, thank God I walked in and she was attacking your father." I stopped her. "Yeah, that happened." She pointed at me, the maid with tea on her shoes, and I felt the whole house lean toward her side of the story. "That's a lie," I said, and I don't know how my voice stayed steady. She was suffocating him. "Ask your father." Arthur raised a shaking hand. "Clara saved me. Isabella was going to kill me." Isabella stepped into Michael's space with the kind of confidence that looks like innocence if you want it to. "Darling, you can't take the word of a confused old man and a maid. Look at me. Why would I ever hurt your father? You know those seconds that stretch out, where everyone goes quiet, like the room is listening, where one choice decides everything that comes after. That's where we were." I could feel Michael tip, so I did the only thing that made sense. "Check the cameras," I said. "You have security everywhere. The truth is there." He didn't argue. He turned and walked out, and every step sounded like a clock running slow. We waited. Isabella paced, muttered under her breath. I held Arthur's hand, counted the inhale. The exhale told myself not to cry, yet not here. When Michael came back, his face had changed. If before he looked carved, now he looked like stone. "I saw it," he said, eyes on Isabella, voice so calm it hurt. "Every second. You were pressing that pillow down." She tried one last time. "Michael, I can explain, there's—" He lifted a hand. "There's nothing to explain. Pack your things. Get out of my house, now. Stick around because what happened next will blow your mind. Security brought a folder that night, the kind of manila you think only exists in legal dramas. Turns out, Isabella hadn't just been cruel, she'd been busy. She'd been meeting with one of Michael's biggest rivals in London, a developer who had sniffed around his projects for months. Coffee meetings, yes, but not the innocent kind. She was feeding him internal documents, timelines, numbers you only get when someone trusts you with everything, making sure the competition knew where to swing the hammer while Michael wasn't looking. It wasn't just about marrying into money. It was sabotage from the inside. Do you think that's fair? That someone can smile at your table, kiss your cheek, then gut your work from the shadows? Tell me what you think in the comments because I've seen masks, but this was a costume change with a standing ovation. Michael told me about the folder in the study, the room that always smelled like leather and old grief. The shock had burned off, and what was left was something heavier. The ache that comes when you realize the person you almost promised your life to knew exactly where you kept your trust and picked that lock on purpose. He sat down, looked me in the eye, and said, "I owe you more than I can repay. You didn't just save my father. You saved me from losing everything I built." I wanted to joke, to lighten it, to make the air move again, but I didn't. Some moments don't need jokes. They need honesty to sit in the chair and look back at you. Arthur reached for my hand, fingers shaking and sure at the same time. "You're no maid in this house anymore, child. You're family." And I felt something break open, not like glass shattering, more like a door that had been stuck finally swinging free. For once, I wasn't the woman who cleaned fingerprints off mirrors. I was the person who refused to let a life be erased. Pattern interrupt. Here's the messy piece no one likes to admit. The cameras that saved us, the ones I bet everything on, 2 of them were off for exactly 20 minutes that night. The ones nearest Arthur's room. Think about that. She knew the system probably from whispered conversations when love still felt like protection. The only reason we had enough footage was because a corridor camera caught her going in with the pillow and coming out without it, smoothing her hair like sweat had betrayed her, and a newer frame cam maintenance had installed. After a scare caught the edge of the bed, the weight of her arms, the pressure on the pillow. Not a perfect face shot. Enough. The truth doesn't always arrive in 4K. Sometimes it arrives in pieces, and the pieces together are undeniable. When Isabella left, she glanced back at me like I was something she'd scrape off a heel and said, "You'll regret this." For a while I believed her. Then I didn't. Not because I felt brave every minute. Fear isn't a light you switch off. But because regret belongs to the person who chose cruelty, not the one who refused to look away. Yeah, that happened. What came after wasn't neat. The house felt lighter, but in that post-surgery way. Grateful, raw, aware of every stitch. Michael replaced staff who couldn't stop gossiping, moved the cameras to smarter angles, tightened doors we didn't know were loose. Arthur's laughter came back in pockets of sunlight. And me. Michael asked me to take a different role. Protector, he called it, family liaison, a title that sounded made up and perfect because it meant what he really wanted to say. I trust you. If you've ever carried someone's trust like that, you know it's heavier than any tray. People started asking me questions, sometimes straight to my face, sometimes in a whisper like truth might bite. Did he apologize for hesitating for that breath where he looked at me and didn't know who to believe? He didn't have to say sorry. He made it right in the place that mattered. Your choices are your apology when they honor what was broken. Another question. Did she face consequences? I'm not going to lay out the legal steps here, but I will tell you this. Evidence has a way of speaking in rooms where money tries to talk over it. Consequences came, and here's where I want to pull you in on purpose. Family loyalty, care for our elders. These words sound beautiful at dinner. But what do they mean when the cost is refusing to see the harm sitting at your table? If love asks you to excuse cruelty, is it love or is it fear wrapped in a pretty bow? If loyalty tells you to be quiet while someone presses a pillow over a life, is that loyalty or rot? Be honest with me. Do you agree, or do you think family should cover everything no matter what? Let me ask the simplest question and the hardest one at the same time. If it were you, what would you have done? Would you have shouted stop and grabbed the pillow, or would you have stepped back and convinced yourself you misread it? There's no judgment here. I want to hear it, because the next time a mask slips near you, your answer might be the difference between breathing and silence. The estate is different now. The air isn't staged. The quiet doesn't feel like a performance, it feels like rest. Arthur still forgets my name once in a while, calls me Cherry Grins when I correct him. Michael still reads contracts the way other people read weather, looking for storms. But now he pauses at his father's door to listen to the steady breathing he almost lost. Me. I walk those halls with a calm I didn't have before. Not because I think bad things won't try to walk back in, but because I know I'm the kind of person who will say stop when they do. Truth is, this story isn't just rich people drama. The numbers are shiny, sure, but the lesson is plain. Money can buy chandeliers so bright they blind you, but it can't buy the kind of light you need when darkness sits on your chest. That light is made, not bought, made by people with small names in big houses, people the world looks past, until the moment their voice is the only one that matters. So let's end where the arguments start. Is honor worth more than comfort in your home? Is a quiet life worth the price of letting cruelty live rent-free in your guest room? What's the line between loyalty and enabling? I know where I stand. I stood there with tea on my shoes and fear in my throat and said, "Stop." Maybe you would have done it differently. Tell me. Challenge me. Tell me I'm naive, tell me I was reckless, or tell me the time you pulled the pillow off someone's face, metaphorically or literally, and paid for it with your job, your friends, your peace. Drop your thoughts below. If this hit a nerve, share it with someone who needs to hear that their voice counts, that silence is not the only option. Comment where you're watching from and tell me what moment in your life taught you that courage doesn't check your bank balance before it shows up. If you want more stories told plain, not polished, not perfect, hit subscribe and stick around. The next time a mask slips, I want you ready.